Funding now on Indiegogo, it's Shadowbinders, our second chance offer to get 2 hardcovers of our classic webcomic delivered to your door. Steampunk, fantasy, and romantic comedy from Clownfish Comics. Go to Indiegogo, check out the link in the description below. Now on with the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Gina Carano is going on the offensive. We're going to talk about some of the fallout from Disney's firing of her off of The Mandalorian. There's some data to back it up that a lot of people did not agree with this decision. And, even though Bob Chapek tried to sidestep.
He did. It was more of a sidestep than anything.
Sidestep the issue. There has been damage done to the perception of Disney and Lucasfilm in the eyes of the general public, not just the angry men on Twitter.
Yeah,
or
I love
YouTube.
how it's always angry white men.
All the angry white men. Apparently, a lot of people are upset about this. We're going to talk about it. Before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're almost 182,000 subs.
Woo, so close.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Now, this is coming from piratesandprincesses.net, which is Geeky's honest Disney blog.
This was done by Pro.
This was done by WDW Pro. You know that guy.
Yeah, we could get so many emails, concerned trolls. I love your channel, but I'm going to stop following because you had Pro on there. Maybe you should get rid of Pro because, it's problematic.
It's not for you. Just don't read those articles then. Don't come to our website. It's not for you.
I guess.
But yeah, he put this up. Gina Carano goes on the fence as poll shows 73% disagree with her firing. Now this poll is coming from, Public Opinion Strategies, and they found some things out.
Yeah, and it's not just about, I think they asked about Splash Mountain too in this poll. Now, interesting thing I do want to mention is that the online poll was only 1,098 adults. It was conducted for just a handful of days, February 26th to March 3rd. It's like 5 days. Okay, so you have to understand, do we know who they sent it to directly and all that? We don't. So is it possible that it was skewed one way or another because of who it sent to? It is. I'm not going to say it's not.
It's possible.
We would say this for any poll. We've called that out in other polls that were presented that we were like, well, we don't know where it went, so we don't know how objective it is. And I'm just going to put that out there to start because, that if I'm being fair, it's necessary that I say that.
Yeah, because the thing about polls, and I've done them before too, I've worked in marketing before, and there are 2 kinds of polls. There are polls where you are legitimately trying to find out where people stand for marketing purposes, and then there are the confirmation bias polls. I have an opinion that my marketing did well, so let's kind of massage that data to, and Disney excels. Disney excels at the latter.
So, if it turns out that it is a confirmation bias type poll, you're just fighting fire with fire at that point. So anyway, continue.
Pretty much. So the key findings from this poll: Gina Carano's name is recognized by about half of Americans, and she has a favorable image. Fully half of Americans, 51%, say they've heard of the former Mandalorian actress Gina Carano, probably because she pops up in the news for all the wrong reasons. Too, because a lot of people might be like, oh, it's a woman from The Mandalorian or whatever. Now it's like everybody knows.
This next part's interesting. So this leads me to believe that it was presented to a general group of people because, if it was just supposed to be skewed one way or another, we might see it go the other way, or it would be a lot more to the favorable impression. So the findings do make me think that they tried to be, representative.
Right. It said 30% of those polled had a favorable impression of her and 22% had an unfavorable impression. That means among Americans who know her, 58% have a favorable impression. Disney's image is positive, but it's being weighed down by playing woke politics.
I would agree with that. I think a lot of people want to love Disney. Disney has been like a family friend for generations, and that's how you trust Disney. Disney always knows your secret code word for trust. So people want to believe in Disney. I know I want to believe in Disney. It's just that their behavior leads me to question everything they do anymore.
Right. So here's some of the verbatim comments. Disney defended using sets near the slave camps in China.
They did.
Them firing people for having different views than the boss has. They're yielding to woke cultural activism. They're developing a full-blown cancel culture. They caved to the liberals of the cancel culture. If she had liberal views, she would be hailed as a champion.
That's probably true.
Probably true. They fired an actress who dared to be conservative. I mean, look at the difference between how she was treated and, again, how Pedro Pascal was treated. And he didn't even have a lot of his points. He didn't even have the right photos or anything. He was just kind of,
Yeah, he didn't. Here's something that's interesting about this paragraph, though. 36% of those that have heard something in the news recently regarding Disney say that it made them less favorable to the company. Importantly, 61% of those with less favorable impression of Disney point to its firing of Gina Carano and other cancel culture actions of the company. So, they poll people. It seems like it was a general poll, but of the general poll, it seems like a lot of people have heard about Disney and their cancel culture, and they're not too keen on that. I know a lot of people had red flags go up when Disney was leveraging political donations as a way to control votes. And I don't even, agree with, some of the things that the, conservatives do all the time. But I was sitting there like, oh my God, how they're just blatantly saying it. They're not even trying to hide it now. They're just flat out saying, you vote the way we want, or we're going to pull your contributions. And honestly, they were not very much in contributions. They give the other side a heck of a lot more. And I was like, whoa, they're not even masking it anymore.
No, that's the thing.
That's not cool.
It's starting to bleed out a little bit. Disney, your politics are showing. I think this is an Igerism. Because Iger, does have his eye on the White House. A lot of people said he's been looking at a White House run, and I think he pandered very hard to the left to try to build up his base, so he can say when he runs, hey, remember all those remember all the diversity and inclusion initiatives? Remember how I fired Gina Carano? Vote for me.
Well, yeah, I do think that what we're hearing is on the backside of Disney. It's backside literally because they're getting spanked. That Chapek, which sounds like cheeks, is trying to distance themselves from the politics because he can see that it's not a smart move right now.
No, and it used to be that Disney was a brand for everybody, and now they say they're a brand for everybody, but they're actually very, very political.
So how do you go about doing that and not getting canceled is the issue, because they've let these people dictate everything. Yeah. If they start trying to be more center, it's going to get a lot of pushback. And now, granted, it's only a vocal minority of people that are pushing it, but they have the control of the media. Anyway.
So yeah, a lot of people are agreeing, again, according to this poll, that Disney has taken political correctness too far. When Americans are shown Gina Carano's social media posts, more than 70% say she should not have been fired. Mm-mm. So when people see the actual tweets, because a lot of times the media is like, oh my God, she said this and she said that. And when you actually look at it, you're like, it wasn't as bad as they made it out to be.
And she said politics in general. She wasn't even saying the right or the left. If you didn't know what she leaned right or left, or right in this case, you would have been like, I agree with that. Politics are ruining people and making people turn on each other, and it's getting ugly. It was because people knew she was conservative.
If she were a known left-winger, and she had put the exact same post up, and she would have been comparing conservatives to fascists, chasing her down the street and trying to get, you know what I'm saying?
It would have been celebrated.
It would have been celebrated. Like, how brave of her. You're absolutely right. The Republicans are literally alt-right Yahtzees.
Yeah, it's because of Twitter, honestly. It's Twitter. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and the thing about Twitter, and we're finding out more and more, and I mentioned this a little bit in the Vic Mignogna video yesterday. You're listening to a bunch of teenagers.
Well, there's actually a story I pulled up, that right here, that they had said, this is from actually end of February, okay?
Yeah.
And they were talking about how the Twitter stands modified, Star Wars. And then we had some other stuff we're going to talk about in the article. But this goes on about how they went out and they deliberately tried to weaponize these hashtags with younger people, which we've been saying, easily manipulated people. And, and then they had, I personally had run-ins with some. And then when there wasn't a discussion, I'll discuss it with you. There's no discussion. You bring up a point, you prove them wrong. You are uneducated. You are a istophobe. I'm not talking to you. You're just looking for attention. You're just looking for attention. All you are is attention whore. You're looking for attention. And then they block me because I keep refuting what they're saying with evidence. And then they're like, she didn't want to talk. There was no discussion. It was her just and every time I correct her, she was like, I don't have to listen to you. You're uneducated. Yeah.
I've been down this road so many times. There's so many people using fake cartoon avatars or photos that, like, I don't think you're actually who you claim to be, and you probably got 30 or 40 different alt accounts. These studios know that stan culture is out there, and when they want to get rid of a person for whatever reason, they appeal to them and they weaponize them. Now, what happens is sometimes the stans turn on them and they bite them hard. Look at what happened with She-Ra, with Noelle Stevenson's She-Ra. Noelle built up an army of stans to defend She-Ra, and then when she made an off-color joke, no pun intended, during a live stream, they all turned on her.
Right, yeah.
You know?
But it was funny because the other day they had to cancel cartoons or whatever, and I put the She-Ra because it should be canceled for Ghidorah being toxic. And and I knew it was going to bring people, and then I said, I even made a joke about it, and it did. Here they come running, you know, and it's like, other people were like, but it was toxic. If it had been a man, they would have canceled it because it was toxic, because it was a toxic relationship. But they weaponized these children. Yeah. Or people that act like children, to go around and try to cancel people. I've seen them go to cancel people because they don't like fan art and telling them to kill themselves over not liking their fan art. Because they were wrong about their opinion of it, because they were uneducated. They thought that someone doing a piece based on the original character was her whitewashing the character, when in fact the character was white. So, you know, they were uneducated in the original and then tried to cancel somebody based on their uneducated opinions.
Yeah, so we have basically a bunch of weaponized screaming children.
And if you call them out, you can't say anything to me because I'm a child. I'm underage. Like, hell, I can't. I'm a mom and a teacher. It's what I do. Yeah.
So that's kind of, what we think is linked to a lot of this. Again, the Vic Mignogna situation is another good example, where most of the harassers, if I had to guess, I would say that they're younger, that they're from stan culture.
And it's really weird, because a lot of the pictures they used were younger people, and they came out and said, when the Anime News Network article originally posted those pictures as evidence, they asked them to take it down because he said that wasn't what happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting because there were a lot of younger people then who stood up for him and said that's not what happened. And then there was a bunch of younger people that were like, screaming. And I don't know. I think it's worse in the cartoons and things like this than it is in the anime stuff.
Well, they've overrun Twitter, so it's very easy because there is a lot of overlap on the Venn diagram. We did a video the other day talking about K-pop stans, and K-pop stans, K-pop fandom overlaps with anime fandom, which overlaps with cartoon fandom, which overlaps with pop culture, general pop culture like Star Wars and Marvel and all of that. So you're basically, when you go to Twitter, you're diving into a soup of crazy soup.
It's an entitled worldview, is what it is. Because it's like, if you don't agree with me, you need to be removed. So I only can hear what I want to hear, because for my mental health, which is very myopic and very self-centered and self-serving. So it is a bunch of immature, spoiled brats going around trying to cancel people who don't agree with them because, my feelings.
Yeah, well, they need spanked.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
So that's what we do. Spanking is our speciality.
That's right.
Here at Clownfish TV, because we're not going to cater to you.
Virtual spanking, not legit.
Virtual spanking.
You better clarify that, because some idiot.
That's for OnlyFans.
Yeah. No.
You got to go. Anyway, back to this article. Gina Carano goes off on offense as the poll shows 73% disagree with her firing. Of course, that coming from that poll. And, Pro wrote the other day about, Bob Chapek's language, that he didn't admonish her.
No.
He could have been like, she was a bad girl who wrote abhorrent things and we had to get rid of her. He sidestepped the question because he knows, I think Kathy Kennedy went rogue and just kicked her to the curb.
Well, we know that from what we're hearing that he wants the company to be back to center, which is not recognized as leaning right or leaning left, which is what he said. And I know what Chapek wants. Iger has done something completely different. And I think this is his steps in trying to put it back to the center, because they understand, hey, if you alienate half the country or half the people that voted against Biden, then you're going to be, that's half your potential audience, half your potential money. Half your potential Disney Plus customers, half your potential park customers. People aren't going to buy your merch, and you wouldn't do that unless there was a demonstrative impact.
Well, that's where he goes with this. He said that, regardless of the positive public spin, that Disney Plus has been damaged because of all the drama surrounding the Gina Carano thing. Now, whether or not, the canceled Disney Plus hashtag got any legs or whatever, it's still a bad look for Disney to have to contend with this.
They hate bad press.
They do. It's their holy water. We said before, the only way you're actually going to get through to them, even sometimes hitting them in the wallet isn't enough to send a message. But bad press, constant headlines saying Disney does this or Disney does that, that works because they're very protective of their public image. And right now, them getting seemingly very political is effectively pissing off half their customer base.
And here's the thing, you don't have to be left or right. There's a lot of people who are just like, I'm so tired of politics and it being in everything we do and deal with, that people that might lean left or right still might get irritated and be like, I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm so tired of it. Would you just stop already? So I think you're canceling, except for the extremists, I think for the most part, it's just turning a lot of people off in general.
Oh yeah, because a lot of people, they go to Disney for escapism. You go to Disney, they talk about the Disney bubble. You go to Disney World to escape your real world troubles. And now a lot of people, when they think of Disney, they think of all the political nonsense that's been going on around the company. And that's what they're going to think about.
What if you did vote conservative? Are people are going to start being afraid to go to Disney for fear that they go to Disney, they're not going to be let in? Or they're going to be like,
cast members are gonna
someone's gonna harass them, or something like that. It's just not a good look. You need to stay, if you're a company like this, you can demonstrate like by your diversity inclusion that you're trying to do better, but you don't have to like ram it down everybody's throat at every given moment. Before you get into that though, let's look at the rest of the poll before we can see what else is on here, because that's kind of important. So then they said, okay, well here's Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, that was interesting, the Mr. Potato Head thing.
Okay, so we had the 2/3 people think that companies like Disney have taken political correctness too far. Okay. Americans have shown social media posts. They said that they don't think she should be fired. They said that 28% of Americans said Disney was right. 39% said it may have been poorly worded, but she's not getting fired. And 34% said they thought nothing wrong with it. 3/4 of Americans believe that Hasbro changing Mr. Potato Head to Potato Head is political correctness gone too far, because it is. And then I thought there were some other things on here about, I guess maybe it's on a different poll they did, but they had done a poll, I guess, apparently on the Splash Mountain, which he has up here. They have, interestingly, 64% oppose Disney removing Splash Mountain's Bear Rabbit theme.
Yeah.
Which is based on African American slave folklore, and 84% oppose Disney's filming near concentration camps, and 47% of adults said they're less likely to engage in Disney content as a result of their bad behavior. Okay, sorry, I want to make sure I read those so people knew.
Yeah, so let's get back to Gina Carano. So she is going on the offensive, and she's pointing out on Twitter, and I saw this.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, I saw this floating around yesterday that we have this at 3:48 p.m. This article, westernjournal.com, poll, most Americans stand behind Gina Carano, had over 2,500 likes, had 2738 likes. A few minutes later.
Yeah, you're talking like literally like a few minutes later.
Yeah, a few minutes later, 4:05 p.m., it drops down to 467 likes.
And that's not the only time. It happens a couple times. Yeah, this one, this is literally a matter of 9 minutes.
9 minutes. So here at 6:40 p.m., it's 151 to 527. So it would appear that Twitter is fudging some of those numbers, auditing those numbers.
Interesting, though, because people will be like, well, it's because of old accounts, and they're using their old accounts, and they probably found that they weren't old accounts. Okay, if that's the case, then how come when we see things that are like, the fire Gina Carano hashtag, they didn't go and do that to those?
Yeah. So let me tell you kind of how YouTube works. Because I think that
demonetized.
Yeah, right. I think this is kind of what's going on with YouTube. Now, YouTube used to show live subscriber counts to everybody, right? On channel, you go there and you get these odd numbers, like 18,627. Then you'd see it go, hit refresh, and it go like 631, Now they do it in increments of, depending on the size of the channel. If you're under 1 million, it does it in increments of 1,000. I think it's,
yeah. 1,000.
If you're a smaller channel, I think it does it in increments of 100. If you're under 10,000, If you are over 10,000, over 100,000, it does it in increments of 1,000. So it'll always show you, like we're at 181,000 subs currently, but we're actually closer to 182,000, but you won't see that rollover until it hits the next milestone. When you're over 1 million, it does in increments of 10,000 subs. The reason I think they do that is one thing I have noticed on the back end is that they tend to audit the subscribers. Mm-hmm. So we've actually lost in a day, we'll see like it go down a couple hundred and then they'll put it back up a couple hundred. So they don't actually show you the rollover until they've audited because they used to do these purges every couple of months where they go through the accounts and then they would purge subscribers and you'd see channels lose, a couple hundred, couple thousand subscribers. We had happened one time, I think we lost like 200. Yeah, it wasn't a big deal. But these are subscribers that YouTube thinks are fake or bots or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of times they
wrong thinkers.
They unsubscribe people that are legitimate people.
People that have actually been subscribed to our channel for years or complain to us that they get them subscribed. So what could potentially be going on here is that Twitter, given the nature of the content, is doing this too. I've noticed on videos dealing with controversial topics, whatever YouTube thinks is a controversial topic, they don't show you an actual view count until they've gone through and start auditing. Like it could be frozen publicly at like 500 views, even though on the back end I can see we've had like 13,000 views, but they won't show you those 13,000 views until after. They're like, well, I guess this is legit after all,
Yeah. So it's possible that they're just trying to do that, and they'll claim that it's because, well, we wanted to make sure they weren't repeated accounts. But I love it because when we saw things like with the She-Ra, the movie hashtag, I noticed, because I watched, that there was a lot of these same people using, and they were talking about using their alt accounts to boost it up, and that wasn't changed.
Yeah.
I love that. But then this, we need to make sure we pull that down. And she was taking screen captures and calling it out publicly.
Yeah, and this guy is a blue check. He's a blue check. He's verified, and it's just, it's very curious. I mean, look, I don't think anyone has any doubt that Twitter is biased, very biased. I think honestly, Twitter is the most politically biased platform out there. It has become a place for left-wing journalists and left-wing activists and stans. And that's basically it. Normal people don't use Twitter anymore. Mm-hmm. But they're absolutely, Gina Carano is a hot topic. They're going to go through and they're going to do whatever they can do to push it down.
It's not going the way Disney thought it would go. And Lucasfilm especially thought it would go a lot different than this. And Disney can't just get away with saying it just because they put it out there and the media says it. We saw it with their racism things. People were like, but then why didn't you wish James Earl Jones and Carl Weathers happy birthday? Yeah. And the media keeps trying to perpetuate this idea that, like the Christina Ariel, when you see her tweets, I will give her that it was during a time that was very, very racially charged. Mm-hmm. So it's possible I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say that maybe she wrote those, because what was going on. I don't think that's all there is to it, but we'll just say that was what all there is to it. So Disney and the media took that information and just went out and said people were attacking her, that racist people were attacking her, but they didn't put the tweets out there to show that she had made comments that could be construed as racist, and that's why people said something. So they tried to change the narrative, change the perception, and that's what we're seeing here again. And I don't think people are falling for it like they used to, because if this poll is legitimately tried to be, just send it out to people and get answers back and tried to keep it as fair as they could, if we're considering that is the case, then it seems that majority of people have an issue with it.
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of people don't pay attention to it, but the fact that her canceling did backfire so spectacularly that a lot of news outlets that don't really cover The Mandalorian were covering it, and it is going to reach average people, and they're going to form opinions on it. And again, when Disney is cornered about their politics during the shareholders meeting and they try to squirm out of it, that's going to hit the mainstream media. It already is. And people are trying to be like, well, Disney gave the right answer by giving a non-answer. That shows how non-political they are. And people are like, oh, no, wait a minute. Let's look at where they're sending their money, spending their money.
Well, they weren't allowed to. They tried to get transparency. The shareholders asked for transparency in political donations, and it was voted against so that they don't have to give a transparent accounting for where the money is going in the company towards political donations.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see more damage. This is not going away. You know, and I mean, you know, people that weren't paying attention, you know, when the next season of The Mandalorian pops up and Gina Carano's not in it, they might have some questions. But, you know, they can only spin it for so long. People are like, well, show me the tweet. Some of the news outlets covering this aren't even showing her original tweet.
No, they just keep running with this narrative. In that one article, that there was an article out there, the military, they take this and turn them into weapons. They're talking about the one person. Go back up. We were talking about it up here. They were saying that, you know, that she was mad because Gina blocked her, and she's like, she didn't owe anybody a reply, but she could have ignored requests or politely declined, but she responded negatively, and how dare she? So the person yelling at her negatively responded and replied negatively, and that's bad. So what happened was, too, with the Gina Carano transphobic debacle, the pronouns in their bio was that, as I've pointed out many times, there are several people at Lucasfilm that do not have pronouns in their bios. Mm-hmm. Gina Carano politely declined to put pronouns in her bios. And that led to this whole campaign of harassment. There's screenshots of it out there. They're calling her bitch, transphobe, all kinds of names, just because she politely said, no, I do not want to put pronouns in my bio, but I support those of you that do because I am against bullying. To which she got incessantly bullied to the place where she got sick of it. It was like, beep, bop, boop, you're all robots. Yeah. And then you're calling trans people robots. That's not what she was saying at all. And of course, the media ran with that. They forget to include the part where they have all kinds of screen captures out there where she was harassed for weeks over her not putting her pronouns in her bio. And they don't put the screen capture of it up where she said, oh, Pedro explained to me why. And I understand that, and I respect if you choose to do that. I am backing you up, but I don't personally want to do that. And they don't put that in there. She's just a transphobe because we said, with no evidence. And if you actually do your homework and look into it, you will find that isn't not what happened at all. Yeah. But the media runs with the lie and the skewed narrative.
Yeah, and they're getting tired of it.
They are.
And they're tuning out of these websites. These websites are getting shut down. Huffington Post got gutted. They're not sustainable. People are tuning out. They're tuning into YouTubers, which is a problem too. So they demonize YouTubers. It's a mess. It's a mess. Anything else you want to add?
No, just that's where it's at. So
that's where it's at. And I think this could be a potential watershed moment, I think, for cancel culture. Because all it's going to take is to cancel the wrong person in the public's eye to have the public turn on cancel culture. And when you realize that most of the people calling for it are just a bunch of kids on Twitter, why are you listening to them?
And not just that. I mean, not that kids shouldn't have a voice, but they're acting like myopic kids. You said about canceling the wrong person. It's like, if you look at every person out there in Hollywood, I'm sure every person has a reason that you can cancel them for.
Oh yeah, and that's what I think this is about. At the end of the day, I think it's about just throwing meat to the pack of wolves to save your own neck so you live another day. Because eventually they're going to come for you too. You might be able to talk your way out of getting canceled today, but once they run out of other people to cancel, they're going to come and get you. They're going to find your skeletons in your closet, and they're going to come for you too. Exactly. That's because you fed them. You fed them, and you've encouraged the behavior, and it's a pack of wolves at this point. So we're going to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.